as a result of differences in opinions, needs, goals, or values. As marriage relationship, we're talking about couples. There are going to be conflicts because these are two persons that are coming from different backgrounds. As I earlier said, even if they are identical twins, they will still have conflicts. So now, when these misunderstandings or a clash or a disagreement arise, what actually causes it? It might due to a difference in the way you reason. That is your thoughts, the way you look at things, attitude, or your perception of about something. You may have a different perception about something, and it will take wisdom to bring your perception to the understanding of your partner. So when this disagreement come up, we need to find a way, an amicable way to see how it's just due to the differences between our values. That is what I believe in. My beliefs might not be your beliefs. So this might differ and it might stir up conflict. So conflict, it is a natural part of human relationship. Conflict is a natural part of human relationship and can be positive or negative. It can be positive or negative, depending on how it is handled. So a conflict is a natural part of human relationship and can be positive or negative, depending on how it is handled. So the way we handle conflicts will determine the outcome. Now we'll look at types of conflicts. Types of conflicts. We have intrapersonal conflicts. Intrapersonal conflicts. Intrapersonal conflicts. So this is conflict within an individual. It's a conflict that occurs within an individual. You as an individual, you have conflicts within you. In this case, the person struggles with inner thoughts, values, or so with conflicts within an individual, you struggle with your values. That is what you believe, what you are thinking. These thoughts keep coming in your mind. You're struggling with them, either to make a decision. For example, you may have a feeling of following your heart or your responsibilities. So you have something that your heart desires, goes for. But now, there are other responsibilities which may not really be what your heart desires. So there is always this internal conflict within an individual. And then we have the second type of conflict is interpersonal conflicts. Interpersonal conflicts. So interpersonal conflicts, this occurs between two or more individuals. It occurs between two or more individuals as a result of difference in thoughts, attitude, or perception. Occurs between two or more individuals as a result of a difference in thoughts, attitude, or perception. Or perception. Common example here, we have misunderstanding between a wife and a husband, or between friends. So interpersonal conflicts deal with two or more persons So this is in the context of, and then the third type is the conflicts, dysfunctional or unhealthy conflicts. Here, people can't work together. People can work together to attain their common goals, with consequences such as partners develop a feeling of low esteem, hurt, stress, and frustration. So, in dysfunctional conflicts or unhealthy conflicts, you find involved here, they have different goals, do not agree, everybody is give up, and in some cases, every person wants to hold on to his or her goal. And so in such cases, we usually have this kind of feelings where in this relationship, either one of the partner will be having that low esteem, or will have a feeling of hurt, will be stressed up, and in most cases, it may end up in frustration. And then we have functional or healthy conflict. Functional or healthy conflicts. In this case, people have two opposing goals that can be resolved by a compromise. People have two opposing goals that can be resolved by a compromise. So this is common between couples. Couples that are intentional about their relationship. Couples that are committed about their relationship. They want to see their relationship grow. They usually practice this kind of we have this kind of to arise amongst these kind of couples who are intentional and they are committed. They don't see it as any big issue. They will find a way to come to a compromise. They will look, they will an opportunity, their goals, and see the goals, and then let go some of the goals that may not be of interest to the family at that time as triggers to conflict. So in healthy conflicts, the partners actually will come to a compromise for the interest of the relationship. Then we have some causes of conflicts. So we talk about conflicts. We will limit ourselves in conflicts in relationship, that is marriage. Some causes of conflicts. The lack of premarital counseling keeps most couples ignorant and unaware that conflicts will arise at some point in their relationship. The lack of premarital counseling keeps most couples ignorant and unaware that conflicts will arise at some point in their relationship. So you see, there is this need for premarital counseling to take place so that would-be couples will be brought to a point where they will have to understand that in the course of their relationship, conflicts will arise. And that when these conflicts arise, it should not be any big issue. They should know that the conflicts that are coming in may serve as a point to strengthen their relationship and also build their intimacy. And then the second cause of conflict is unmet expectations. unmet expectations. We have realized that in most premarital counseling, would-be couples who are in courtship, most of them usually pretend. Some hide their feelings. Some hide some of their bad attitudes. They just pretend to be good, nice. And then by the time they get into the full relationship, a girl that you met and you thought that she was humble, you thought that it was a girl that if you talk to her, she would listen. By the time she's fully married, something like Pastor Me will say, that little angel that you met now becomes one devil that you are dealing with. You begin to ask yourself how you got to this point. So unmet expectations usually lead to a conflict in relationships. And then we may also have a parenting standpoints, the manner in which they want to bring up their children, to carry out their parenting. If they had not had any premarital sessions, then they may not agree on how to bring up their children. So this might also lead to a conflict. And then we also have the misuse of finances in relationship. Finances usually are also a main source of conflict in relationship. So if they are not having a good knowledge on financial management issues, they will definitely have problems. And this will bring, and then we also have at times sexual incompatibility that can also lead to conflicts in relationship. And then we have non-alignment of purpose and vision. This still boils down to relationships that were conceived without counseling. So they just find themselves in a relationship. Every person is having his or her own goal and vision, but the visions do not align. So at some point, conflict might arise. Either the woman will be asked to maybe let go her purpose or vision so that the family can meet up with certain things. And if it's a woman that will not want to let go her purpose or vision, she wants to embark on her purpose while the husband also embarks on his own purpose. And we find that their purpose, they don't align. They don't even have a meeting point. So this will result to conflicts. And then we have external influence members and peers, the peer groups. You have people who are in relationship. Some may want to compare their relationship with others, and this can bring problems. We have influence from families. You have families, we say that to get married, you must be matured and prepared. That is come to a point where you should be able to make your own personal decisions. But we have couples that are telecommand by their parents in their marriages. So this usually brings or leads to conflict. You may even have friends. You have some people that but they are still keeping the friend they had, they were single. And then they forget to know that their life as a married person is now different from that of a single. When you are living your life as a single person, you could sit down the whole day and watch your films from one film to the other, just leave your house and go visit other friends and come back anytime you want. But as a married person, some of these rights are kept down. You need to now maybe find time to cook. But when you still have some of these friends, they may drag you out of your matrimonial home, you do the thing you were doing when you were single, and this may. Then we have some early red flags, signals of conflict. Some early red flags, signals of conflict. So this we are simply referring to before conflicts usually start in a relationship. There are some early signals, and these signals include you have couples start. There are arguments with negative tones. They are no longer friendly in the way they discuss. You ask a question, the response comes, but with a negative tone. So these are early signs of conflicts. And then we have the absence of communication. You find that in a relationship, people just live in their houses, they don't communicate. They can just be a question and answer session where somebody will ask a question and the other person will respond and may just give a vague answer to that question. So we no longer have that free communication. And then we also have, at times, quarreling starts. On little issues, people start quarreling. And at times, we may have physical abuse. So when we have this kind of early signs in a relationship, arguments with negative tones, absence of communication, people start quarreling on little issues, these are gradually leading to conflicts. So now, let's look at what is conflict management. What is conflict management? Conflict management is a process of limiting the negative aspects. Conflict is a process of limiting the negative aspects of conflicts. Limiting the negative aspects of conflicts while increasing the positive outcome. While increasing the positive outcome. It involves using constructive methods. It involves using constructs to handle disagreements. Constructive methods to handle disagreements so that relationships are not damaged. So that relationships are not damaged. It is about how we handle conflicts when they arise. It is how we handle conflicts when they arise. So in conflict management, they're saying here that it is a process. It is a process that we put in place so that we can limit those triggers that will bring up conflicts among couples. So we try to limit the negative aspects that can trigger conflicts. And then we use constructive methods. Methods that are amicable so that we can handle disagreements among couples. So in a conflict management, we always say it is not what you said that caused the problem, but how you said it. So in conflict management, we would look we try to limit them, and then we strengthen those that keeps the relationship in a healthy condition. So in conflict management, there are different styles that couples usually use in managing their conflicts. Since conflict management is a process, there are different that can be used, and couples usually use these styles. So our next subtopic is, what are conflict management styles? What are conflict management styles? These are the different ways individuals address and engage in resolving conflicts. These are the different ways individuals address and engage in resolving conflicts. Some of the conflict management styles common amongst couples include some of the styles. Couples include, the very first one is avoiding styles. So in this kind of management styles, couples deliberately stay away from the problem. Couples deliberately stay away from the problem, hoping time will resolve it. Hoping time will resolve it. They do not see the need of confronting the problem. They do not see the need of confronting the problem with the fear of creating more problems. With creating more problems. In some cases, couples abstain in order to figure out better decisions. In some cases, couples abstain in order to figure out decisions. So, when conflict in relationships or in marriages, this usually happens in the early stages of the marriage. These are usually the ones that come in. The two parties, since they are still in that point where they do not really understand each other, what they do is they just avoid the problem. They avoid the problem. And as they avoid the problem, they are hoping that with time, the problem will be solved. With time, the problem will be solved. And then, at times, they have this fear that want to confront the problem, they may create more problems. They may create more problems. So what do? They just avoid the problem. They avoid the problem and they stay away from it. Then they may decide to even abstain from it in order to figure out better decisions. In order to figure out better decisions. And then we have the second style. We have the second style, which is accommodating styles. Accommodating styles. So style here is accommodating styles. Here, one partner let go his or her needs. One partner let go his or her needs in favor of the other partner, e.g., the peace lovers. So in every relationship, we usually have the peace lovers. People who always run away from problem. They want peace. So when there are conflicts, even if whatever thing that conflict was to the interest of that peace lover will prefer to let it go for the sake of peace. Will let it go. So we refer to this kind of style as accommodating style. One partner will let go his or her needs in favor of the other partner, just for the sake of peace. For the sake of peace. Then we have the third style, which is competing style. The competing style. It deals with win or lost. It deals with win or loss. That's the competing style. Win or lost. In this case, the couples see conflict as a problem. In this case, the couple see conflict as a problem that needs to be addressed squarely. That needs to be addressed squarely for the interest of both parties. So in the competing style, it deals with win-lost. Couples see conflict as a problem that needs to be addressed squarely for the interest of both parties. So this kind of management style, this will be practiced by couples that are passionate about their relationship. They want to see that their relationship grows. They want to see that they progress. So in this case, they would prefer to lose something in order to win another. So they usually address this kind of conflict squarely, and then they take out what they know is good for the interest of that family. They keep it, they hold on to it. Then they make sure that their relationship grows and strengthens their intimacy. And then we also have the compromising style. Competing. No, there is a mix of one, please. In this competing style, which is the win or lost, the couples actually address the problems squarely, but one person has to let go. One person has to let go. So one person will still win. And then we have the compromising style. The compromising style again something. Compromising style, both partners let go something to gain something. That is, both of them lose or, or gain. Or gain. The relationship where the couples are intentional, committed, they want to see their relationship come to strength. So they'll always have that point of compromise. What is bringing or whatever thing that triggers conflict, they will identify it, sort it out, and see what they can pick from it, and then they will continue. They'll come to a point of compromise. So it should be noted that as couples struggle to manage their conflicts using some of the above mentioned styles, some of them may end up in frustration, hurt, stress, resentment, loss of trust, which may create an atmosphere of insecurity, fear, and suspicion. So when you look at it, every relationship, couples leave to problems. They use the above mentioned styles that we have mentioned. It could either be avoiding the problem, it could be either be a compromise, coming to a point of compromise. It could either be a case where they will either let go something so that they can gain the other one. So they use all these different styles to manage their conflicts and resolve them in their relationship. But in this struggle, in most cases, some may succeed. Some may succeed. But if you have in a case where you have people who do not come to a compromise, it's only one person that is always losing in order to keep that relationship, you find that it will come a time when this person will become frustrated. The person will be hurt. It will develop stress. It will start building up that kind of bitterness with that loss of trust. And then they'll start living in fear, insecurity, suspicion. So it is in this kind of atmosphere that when most couples start looking at counselors after managed the problems, they have resolved some of them. But if they are in a relationship where one of the person is never compromising, then it comes a time where you find some of the people are frustrated. They're really frustrated. And it is at that point where the conflict comes to a point where the parties or the couples can no longer manage them in their homes. They no longer have control over the conflict. There is that atmosphere of fear, suspicion, lack of trust, insecurity. Everybody is bitter. They talk to each other. They quarrel, almost little thing. They exchange words. And in some cases, they may even get to the point of physical abuse. So it is at this point aware that they will start looking for the help of the counselor to see how the counselor can help them out of the, or maybe most of them even go to the counselor to with the mindset that the counselor will help them to maybe implement their own standpoint. So this takes us to our next subtopic, the role of counselors in conflict management and resolution. The role of counselors in conflict management and resolution. So the very first role of a counselor is that of a mediator. So as a counselor, we are mediators. So a counselor is that neutral third party who helps partners communicate freely. A counselor is that neutral third party. You are a mediator. You help partners in conflict to communicate freely. You ensure that neither parties they discuss. If you have ever had a scene, a couple brings a problem and you are there to listen, you find that maybe one party is the only person talking. The other one wants to say one thing, the other one will shut down and wants that only his or her voice should be heard as far as that problem is concerned. So at that point now, as a counselor, what is now your role? You are that neutral. You make sure that you halt the other person and listen to the other person. So you create an atmosphere where you'll be able to listen to the both of them. You hear their versions of the story, and then you see how you can come in to walk them through. As a counselor, you are a facilitator. That's a facilitator of communication. So helps clients express their thoughts and feelings clearly. So as a facilitator, you help the clients to express their thoughts and their feelings clearly. And you listen to one another without interruption. So if one person is talking, you let the person flow. You do not interrupt. And you do not let the other partner to interrupt. So you create that atmosphere. How do you do this? You do this by teaching them positive communication skills. Positive communication skills like active listening. When the other person is talking, they should listen quietly. And then you also have to let them have that sense of empathy as the other person is speaking. Let the other person try to have the feelings or the pain of that other person. That is your role as a facilitator occasion. And then the third one is clarifies, or you are a clarifier of issues. Clarifier of, that is, you clarify issues. You clarify issues. So as counselors, you guide the parties to identify the cause of the conflict. You help them, bring them to that point where they should be able to identify the cause of that conflict. Because there are times where you have conflict in a relationship. This conflict, at that point in time where maybe the problem, you have it on your table, there are maybe some other things that must have contributed to bring that conflict to that level. So as a counselor, what do? You guide them. As you listen to them, you paraphrase what they are saying to be sure that what they are saying is certain. So that you'll be able to identify the cause of the conflict, and then let the parties also come to the point where they actually see the major cause of the conflict. So you also help uncover hidden emotions. As I said, you may see people in serious conflict. It is not that day that conflict started. There must have been some minor things that have been building up, hidden emotion, some unmet needs that tend to foil up this tension. You may have in a relationship, you are expecting your partner to meet up with certain responsibilities in the family. But this is not done. So this tends to build up conflicts. And it comes to a point where the tension, you can no longer handle it. So as a counselor, what do? You make sure that you identify this major cause, and so that people can focus on it and bring out the possible solutions. As a counselor, your role is you are an educator. You have the role of an educator. You have to teach skills on anger management, problem solving, and forgiveness. You have to teach skills on anger management, problem solving, and forgiveness. Because at that point where they are coming to you, everybody's angry. Nobody's even willing to forgive. So you have to educate them, let them see the need to manage their emotions and also be able to forgive for the interest of the relationship. So as a counselor, you also serve as a reconciler. You also play the role of a reconciler. That is to reconcile the two parties. You help to restore trust, forgiveness, unity between conflicting partners. So you reconcile them. Then you also advocate for positive changes. You advocate for positive changes by encouraging clients to take personal responsibility for their actions and attitudes. So you advocate for positive changes by encouraging clients to take personal responsibilities for their actions and attitudes. So this takes us to the importance of conflict management and resolution. Importance of conflict management and resolutions. So when there are conflicts in a relationship, when we successfully manage them and resolve the conflict, so this, it promotes unity, builds understanding and respect, builds mutual understanding and respect, prevents violence and emotional hurt, prevents violence and emotional hurt, improves teamwork and relationships, improves teamwork and relationships, encourages emotional growth and maturity. Then, as counselors, we have some practical steps to follow during conflict management and resolution. To follow during conflict management and resolution. So as a counselor, we are assuming that you have a counseling session with a couple that are having conflicts. So what are the steps that you are going to follow? So the first step here is we bring both parties together. You cannot resolve a problem without having the two parties together. So we bring both parties together, lay out the ground rules. So during your counseling sessions, you usually have your ground rules. So if your clients come, you tell them, okay, if we are in a counseling session, if one person is talking, the other person should listen. There will be no raising of voices. Those are some of examples of ground rules. And that in that session, you are not proposing any solution. The solution, they will be the ones to propose the solution. So you only help, only guide them to that point where they will see this possible solution for them. Then the next thing you have to do is find out the cause of the conflict. Find out the cause of the conflicts. And then actively listen as each partner has their say. Actively listen as each partner has their say. Because you will not be able to resolve a conflict if you did not follow them well. So during active listening, we've been taught this. You take down your point so that you know when in such a way that will permit you not to take sides. So you can only successfully realize this if you listen actively. Then you have to establish a desired outcome. So you help them to establish a desired outcome. Now that there is a conflict, now that we have this problem, what is the way forward? You get their opinions. So that's where you come in, you establish a desired outcome. You hear them speak. You get their own proposals. What are they saying? Who is still in the relationship? Because at times you have couples that come to you, they have already have in their mind their fixed ideas. Some will tell you, I'm no longer in this just. So as a counselor, you help them establish their desired outcome. If it is a case where somebody is bent, oh, I want to divorce, you try to find out and see how you bring that in. Even though there is this problem, but is there no way that we can still manage this relationship, find a way out? So they should be able to establish a desired outcome. Then get the partners to suggest possible solutions. As a counselor, you don't give them solutions. Let them speak out. Find out from them. Now that we are at this point, what do you desire? What should we do? You get their opinions. And then as a counselor, you guide them to pick out the positive solutions, help them together. Because your role as a counselor is never to part couples, is to keep them together. Then the next is agree on a resolution and what must be done to make it happen. So in these steps that you are following, you must the three of you, because you are a third neutral party, you must agree on a resolution and what must be done to make. If you have a resolution, maybe the conflicts always arise because when somebody wants to talk, the other one does not listen, or the other one is shouting, or the other one is arrogant. Then they should agree and take their responsibilities that, okay, in this relationship, will not give, maybe shouting, quarreling. We'll find a way to discuss our problems, maybe in a low and calm manner. And then in these steps, there must be a follow-up to check. A follow-up to check if the solution is working. So during your counseling session, you must create that point where you have to follow up your counseling. The possible, are they working? And if they are not working, then request for adjust need be. Request for adjustment if need be. Maybe during the counseling session, we have stated down some rules, and then they went back now. They realized that they were not really working. So a good counselor should be able to follow up the clients and see these resolutions that we took, are they working? If they are not working, is there a way we can readjust them? So these are the steps that we have to follow as counselors during our counseling sessions. So in conclusion, true maturity is not the absence of conflict. True maturity is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to face it with wisdom. Patience and love. Patience and love. As Romans 12:18 reminds us, Romans 12:18 reminds us, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. So we pause here, we stop here. That's what I gathered. And we'll wait for questions and contributions. We'll wait for questions and contributions. Questions will permit us to throw more light where we miss out something. And if there are contributions, they are welcome. What I did not add or what I missed out. Remember, it is a learning, teaching and learning process. It is a teaching and learning process. We are all learning, sharing our ideas. We have been in relationships. We've had conflicts. So, how did we manage them? Are we there?
Yes,
Yes,
Mama.
so yes. We are still assimilating. It's so deep. So much.
Yeah, so much.
Yeah.
Normally, to me, this lesson is supposed to be in at least two lessons.
Yes.
What? Because of time constraint, we have to squeeze it. So actually, when you look at it, a lot has been left out. But anyway, we'll catch up as we now share together.
Okay. Maybe I just there's a point you set on some causes of conflict, and
Yes.
on the second point, there's a second point you say unmet expectations.
Yes.
This I think this really happens a lot of time where in most marriages where you see people, they are eager, for love and all that, or they just want by all means to have that person, but they have some, I don't know whether you have hidden agendas, or even during pre-counseling, you don't get them really talk out. Some know how to pretend very well. I have a young couple, they used to be my one best couple, like kid brother couple. And they had started staying together and had a child before they will finally want to, they go to church to bless their marriage. And I remember sitting there, and the priest in his speech or during the, not during the sermon, at one time, when it was after the sermon, but then during reception, we make a powerful statement, which maybe many people did not really get it. He told outrightly the group where we were sitting, the crowd, during the reception, that the guy, the man, it looks like the lady did not really understand the man. He said it in a way that it was just like a flashy, just passing, like he had seen something deep, like the guy was not really a very serious guy. But behold, they had been together for over 5 years or so before getting married. They had a child. And I don't know, that caught my attention that time. And I think my husband too were together. We talked about it. But I think they didn't really, many people maybe did not pay attention. What will happen is that eventually, years after, I don't know whether up to 5, 6 years again, this guy will come up with a very terrible action against the girl. Well, will date another woman until they get married and leave the girl stranded, abandon the girl with the children. That thing kept ringing in my ear. And it's not until not too long ago that this young girl, they're separated, of course. He went and got him married at the other end. I remember this thing really frustrated me so much because I was like one of their parents. So I remember the other day I was discussing with this girl. She has moved on with life, well, making things happening. We're just talking. We are still friends, very intimate, and we're talking some things about marriage. I told her about my course now, and I came back to this statement that the priest made. That I don't even think she did not even hear. So, but in this case, what do we do? I mean, it happened because finally what he said happened. Could they not have? Wasn't it proper sometimes to even call it off? I don't know. I felt guilty because we're guilty. I was not a counselor, that's true. But this thing haunted me forever, especially I saw all the movements into the breakage. And I tried my best at that early years to call the guy to order, to scream, to shout, to do anything, but he had gone. He was no longer at that level. I called the girl, the woman in question, the woman who was giving him trouble. That's how far I went. Went to my Bible, removed pages, went to Proverbs, read about, wrote to that lady what she was doing in a young couple, and actually begged her. I said, my dear, please don't scatter this marriage. I pray with you, join me, we pray, and God will provide your own husband. But I bet you it was just a resounding nothing. And she even dropped the phone. I remembered me. I'm talking something that's about 10 years. So it's not that I'm talking. I was just bringing this point where you see that people some can pretend to a certain, right, to a level, and you only see the outcome afterwards.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's really it's a regrettable situation because it is what is common in our society nowadays. And that's the reason why us now as counselors, like I had a session, I was just discussing with some people, and I said, what we should be doing, those of us who are now counselors, anywhere that you sit, if you can just say something that it can help change somebody, just be talking. Just keep saying it. Because we talk about red flags during courtship. Courtship is that period where you get to know your partner, you identify some of the unhealthy signs or behaviors. But because many people pretend a lot and they are usually carried away by their emotions during that season, they are blinded with love. So even if these unhealthy behaviors are there, they are blinded. They will not want to see it. And then in most cases, they just believe that nobody is perfect and that at times, okay, the behavior will change. Forgetting to know that bad behaviors don't grow small, they instead grow bigger. So when they keep hiding behind that period where they say they are in love and they say love is blind, they don't seem to see anything. This is, first of all, a relationship that they've been living together and having a child before thinking of blessing the marriage. During that time, they must have noticed, even the girl in question must have noticed certain aspects. But you see, because they rushed into this relationship, she's already entangled with a child. She's now asking herself, even if I have to leave, what will I do with this child? Even if I have to leave, what will I do? What will people say? So she keeps trying to see how she can make things work. But you know, with the men, the moment they come to the point that the expectations are not met, as we are saying, which is where your question is, their expectations might be at the point where their visions are not aligning, their purposes are not aligning. Maybe this man is, or they are not even compatible, because you have some couples that, okay, the man might be that kind of man that is so very sociable, wants to interact, and then maybe the wife now is the kind of introvert. She will just want to stay indoors. You see, there is going to be a conflict at this point, because this man maybe always want to run around with the wife, do create fun, share moments with the friends, but the wife may not be that type. Red flags that maybe they notice maybe at the beginning, but because of some of their own hidden intentions, they will not want to maybe important and say, okay, no, because you are not this, I will not want to continue with you. They are hoping that maybe when they come together, they will change. They will never change. And our person can only decide to change for himself. That is rare. So they had their premarital come through, and then brought them to that point where it will bring some pertinent issues. Let them see it clearly and look at each other, eyeball to eye. Can we cope with this? So most of the time, they don't have this effective marital counseling, and they go for counseling. There are pastors that are counseling. Not all pastors are well equipped with the knowledge of counseling that can actually give this good knowledge for this. Maybe the boy realized that they were not compatible, and there's nothing you can do. The moment that unmet expectation has been identified, you cannot keep that relationship. I hope I answer your question, Oma. What else of an answer or what? Okay. Any other contribution? Please, let's share. When we share, we learn more. Mommy, so are you in this class? Mommy Solange is in class.
Looks like her microphone is not working.
It's muted.
Muted.
Who else said this or let's share?